Right, I have about a minute past the hour, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome on behalf of Plano Public Library. This is How to Conquer Overwhelm. We're happy to have you with us here today. For our program today, we have a wonderful presenter. You will not be disappointed that you've spent your time with us today. Your microphone has been muted. Please do ask questions or make comments through the chat. We're happy to answer your questions today. If you'll just use the chat feature, which is at the bottom of your screen. And the presenter is sharing her screen right now. And we're, as I said, happy to have you with us. You will remain muted through the program, but are welcome to ask your questions through the chat. So we're really happy to have with us today. I've been really anticipating this topic myself. I think all of us feel overwhelmed from time to time, and so happy that Debra's here with us to present How to Conquer Overwhelm. Debra Austin is a coach, consultant, facilitator, and speaker. She helps business owners to clarify their vision, to create a roadmap for success, and to overcome obstacles like ineffective marketing, poor sales, low productivity, and head trash that may be stopping them from achieving their goals. She is a proud graduate of Purdue University and Southern Methodist University, and she's also recognized by the International Coaching Federation as a professional certified coach. We are delighted and pleased to have Debra with us today, and here we go. Thank you, Debra.
Thank you, Kristen. As always, it's a pleasure to be here. Well, most of us experience overwhelm on a regular basis. If not, we're experiencing some kind of stress. Today, we just want to talk a little bit about what it is and what we can do about it. I mean, if you think about it, we live in an unprecedented time where the phone is on 24/7. People can reach you all day. Work is over at the end of the day, but it never goes away because you're still connected digitally. Then, not to mention family, friends, life, health, so many things going on at one time. And at times we look just like the person in this photo. Just stop for a minute. So all of this can lead to quite a bit of overwhelm and stress. And the two actually feed each other. And that's where we'll start. We're going to cover really 5 topics. What causes overwhelm? How overwhelm and stress work together. Then I'll give you some short-term tips so that in the moment it'll help you get past where you are and maybe get back into action. Then some long-term tips that will help you over the long run to stay out of overwhelm. And then maybe a few things to help with future prevention. And as Christian said, if you come up with any questions along the way, please feel free to type them in the chat and I'll be glad to address them. With that, let's just get started. So what causes it? If you think about it, we're not clear on our values and priorities sometimes. We're not sure what's the most important for us because we're so busy doing and being and responding that we kind of lose sight of who we are and what's important to us. We're out of alignment. So we do know what our values and priorities are, but the things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis and predominantly are not in alignment with that. If your family is important and you're never spending time with them, that leads to stress itself. And you do that long enough, you become overwhelmed with how much you have to do just so you can spend time with your family. We don't have a clear path to our goals. So we may know where we want to go, but we're not sure how to get there. And the ideal of figuring out how to get there just becomes this great big monster that we can't even begin to take the first step. We're almost paralyzed at that point. We're trying to do too much, too fast. In other words, we want to get all of these things done in the first quarter of this year, so therefore we're going to knock it out. And in truth, what happens is we don't get anything done. We get more frustrated, and we start to actually kick ourselves for not getting it done. We're coping with consistent stress. So stress is real, and there's some stress that's good for us. Remember the whole idea with cortisol, you send something's coming to attack and you take off. That's a good thing. But long-term stress, we know is not good for us. And we know that it can be detrimental to us. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. We have too many priorities. So when we call everything priority number 1, that leads to a whole lot of stress. And we can't address them all at one time. That leads to a whole lot of overwhelm as well. We have an unending list of to-dos. If your to-do list is more than you can do in a day, it's too long. It's just that simple. And then the big one, we're constantly responding to other people's priorities. So our priorities get pushed down, and then they become emergencies or urgent for us. And then that's more stress and more overwhelm. So these are just a few of the reasons that cause overwhelm. If you think about it, I'm sure you can add a few more to that list. The biggest one's not being clear on what's important for us, and then focusing on everybody else's priorities before ours. Let's look a little bit how overwhelm and stress works together. I almost want to call them the twin cousins. We get overwhelmed. We can't get it all done. We don't know where to start. Then that leads to stress level. The stress level kicks in. So now we're stressed out. And when we're stressed out, we can't make good decisions. In fact, it's hard to make any decisions. So the more we get stressed, then we start to procrastinate. And as we procrastinate, and there's lots of reasons for doing it, we start to avoid doing things that are important, that maybe are priorities, and definitely things that are urgent. That pushes more on our plate of to-dos, and we're back in the overwhelm. And they just feed on each other, round and round in a circle. The result is we end up maybe missing important deadlines. If there's a job you want to apply for, if there's a report you had to get in, it doesn't get turned in. And then you're kicking yourself for what you didn't do, right? So we're back in that whole stress overwhelm. Then our self-esteem starts to kick in. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. There's no way I could ever get this done. We start to skip things like self-care, like having healthy meals, if that's important for you, like getting sleep at night, because we think, if we can just work a few more hours, we can get it done. We feel tired, i.e., hard to make decisions, hard to get anything done. We feel inadequate. There's no way I'll get through this mountain of stuff. And then sometimes we just feel defeated. It's like we're trying to push the overwhelm and the stress monster back into the closet, and it just won't go. And eventually, we realize that we're just done. Do any of those sound familiar to you? I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably at least one. So here's what we do know. You can't solve stress and overwhelm by doing the same things you've been doing, but doing them harder, more, and better, i.e. working 10 more hours, i.e. just pushing much further to get to the end. It doesn't take it away. And you can't solve them simply by learning to say no, or just turning your back on things, especially the things that are important for you. You can't. So what we're going to do at this point is just kind of shift into some short-term things you can do, short-term actions you can take to help you get past overwhelm, especially the part where you're so stuck you can't do anything. Because we know that we can just get moving, we can get past it. But again, that's getting past it. That's a short-term solution. Once we talk about the short-term solutions, we'll look at the long-term. And that's not so much about getting past it. That's about minimizing and eliminating it where we can. So the first step for short-term getting past overwhelm is just to pause. Take a break. Now that may sound counterintuitive when you're super busy, but have you ever thought about the time you were sitting at your desk trying to bang something up and you just took like a 10-minute walk outdoors, outside someplace, and you came back and you were refreshed and able to refocus? If you can just do that. So, do something as simple as just take a walk, stand up and stretch, practice deep breathing, or meditate. There are a lot of great apps out there where you can do like a 5 or 10-minute meditation just to help you slow down a little bit, clear your head out a little bit, and then make it more easy for you to refocus. By taking the pause for a moment, it'll give you that simple piece of clarity and perspective sometimes. And it maybe help you look at something that's really challenging and come back with a different way of looking at it so you can move forward. That'll help you prioritize what needs to happen. That'll help you make better decisions. The first step to getting out of overwhelm is just to push pause. The second one is to do a brain dump. Think about the time when you had a lot of things that needed to be done and your head's just spinning, trying to remember all of them in a circle. It's just like a little wheel. And think about that little hamster on that wheel just running as fast as it can. A brain dump is a great way to kind of slow it down and help you step back and get perspective. What do I mean by that? It's really just to take a moment to stop, sit down, and write down everything you want or need to do. And notice I said write down, not type it down. The reason I say that, not even on the computer, is because when we write it, we're not trying to make sure the spelling is perfect. We're not trying to make it sure that it's organized and looks great. And the reason it's a dump is because you're literally just going to dump it all out of your head onto a sheet of paper. Once you get it from your head, those unfinished to-dos, the projects and ideals that are swimming in your head, you get a little bit more space. And now you can go back and look at that dump of what you've just written down. And you want to look at, does it align with your values and priorities? Remember I said that's one of the biggest reasons that we get overwhelmed. If you're not sure what those are, just hold on. I'm going to talk about that in a few more minutes. But you consider what's on that sheet that aligns with your values and priorities. You review it, and then you want to sort it into what I call the 4 Ds. The first category being, these are things that I have to, want to, need to do. These are not things that I can't do, and things that I will do. The category 2 is delegate. These are things that need to be done, but I can delegate them to someone else. And even if you're a solopreneur, there are things you can delegate to a contractor. You can delegate to someone else. You want to be looking for those opportunities. Things that you can delay. This is something I'd like to have done, but I don't have to have it done right now. And by moving that out of that category 1 into category 3, it frees up some space to do the things you have to do now. And then the 4th category, especially when you think about what your values and priorities are there things on that list that you can actually delete that don't even need to be done? So you want to go through your brain dump and you want to categorize them into do, delete, delay, and delegate. Once you've done that, then you want to step over to the next level, the next short-term tip to get past overwhelm. But before, just choose one of those categories that you're going to work on. Hopefully it's one that's in the do column. Choose one thing out of there that you want to work on now. You want to take that one thing and do what we call chunking it. Now, chunking it basically means you break it into pieces that are more manageable for you. Things like picking the one in the do category and you break it into manageable steps. You want to look at those steps and say, can you get those done in one day? If you can't get it in one day, then can you break it into even smaller chunks? So for an example, say that you want to put together a blog article. If you need to write an article, you need to write a paper, whatever that may be for you. And maybe the first step is just to get an outline. You could maybe do it in a day, but the quality may not be what you're looking for, or it could. But maybe you just want to do an outline. So the first chunk of that would be the outline. The second chunk might be the first draft. The third might be to come back and finish it. Break it into manageable tasks that you can get done in one day or less. And then use the remainder of the list that you created on the page before, those other categories, the delay, the delete, the delegate, and kind of spread them out over time. If the delete ones, take them off. If you're going to delegate, when are you delegating it? And then the ones that you are going to delay, when will you do that? So maybe it's something you have on your first quarter list that you can actually do in the second quarter with no harm, no foul. Now, here's a trick that we'll come back to with calendars as well. If there's something that you do on a regular basis, say you're responsible for entering data into a spreadsheet and needs to be entered every week, block out a time on your calendar when you're always going to do that. The benefits of that, now you're not having it spin in your head as to when am I going to get to that thing. The other part of it is you have a block of time to do it. So that doesn't go on your overwhelm list because you know exactly when you're going to get it done. And then the last part of that is that you're not trying to multitask in 1 hour. So you got a 2-hour block. You're not trying to do 5 things. You blocked it out to do that specific type of activity. And that becomes a really, really powerful tool in terms of managing your calendar, managing your time, and freeing up some of the space here that's running around in circles saying, oh, I need to get this done, need to get this done, need to get this done. It also helps you avoid letting things slip through the cracks. And you know, when we have a lot of things going, when we're overwhelmed, that's exactly what happens. And sometimes the penalty for doing that is pretty steep. Okay. The fourth short-term tip we want to look at is paring down your to-do list. If you recall earlier, I said if your to-do list can't be done in one day, you need to work on that. You need to shake it down to a smaller size. The first step in that one is learning to say no. So a lot of times when we're not clear on what our priorities and our goals are, we don't have them on our calendar. We have no time on our calendar to work on those. So when someone asks us to do something, volunteer work or an extra project, we say, sure, I got it. I'm looking at my calendar, it's empty. But that's because we didn't put our stuff on that calendar. So we can't really see it. The other part is we have this habit, and habits are hard to break. When somebody asks you to do something, you automatically say yes. So one of the big steps in learning to say no is just learning to do the pause. In other words, don't respond right away. Offer to get back with somebody before you commit to doing it, unless you don't have a choice. But if they're asking you to do something that you do have a choice in, pause. Get away from it. Get some perspective, i.e. look at your calendar, think about what you actually have committed to already, and then learn to say no. And no doesn't mean never. It means maybe not now, or I just don't have the bandwidth at this time to take it on. The second one is start with a weekly and daily plan. Now, this isn't some comprehensive plan that's spread out in Excel. It's something simple as this week, my top 3 priorities are. And then the daily plan says, when are you working on those things in that top priority? So if you have a specific goal that you want to reach in a quarter or in a month, and you know that each week or each day you need to be nibbling on that, i.e. the chunks, then put it on your calendar so you have time to work on it. What happens? You're not stressed because it's not done. You're not overwhelmed because now it's due and you haven't worked on it. Make sure the tasks you put on that to-do list are things that you can complete in one day. So in other words, if you have 40 things on your to-do list, you need to chunk that list up, move some of that stuff out to other days, because whether you want to believe it or not, you're not going to get it all done. So how about you set yourself up for success as opposed to not give yourself a reason to kick yourself tomorrow because you didn't get your to-do list done, i.e. reduce the stress level, reduce the overwhelm, because now instead of 30 things on your list, you got 7 that you know you can get done. And yeah, sometimes life will happen and you won't get those 7 done, but guess what? Just by having a clear list that's actually achievable, you're much more likely to be able to get it done. Last but not least, again, check the alignment with the goals and priorities. If it's on your to-do list, will it move you closer to your goal? Is it truly a priority for you? Is it something that doesn't need to be on your list? Use those same 4 Ds, do, delegate, delay, and delete, and apply them to the things that are on that list until you can get it to a manageable size each day. If you do that and nothing else we talk about, your stress level is going to go down. That sense of overwhelm will go down. Here's that last one. You want to revisit this daily. So every day you're working on this to-do list, because this to-do list is going to be your guide to make sure you get the important stuff done for you. Your priorities, your goals, the things that have to be done. And you want to check that list and make sure you're going down it and that it's doable every day. The next tip for short term, just to get you out of the funk, to get you past being overwhelmed, is to reduce the number of distractions. As awesome as we all think we are, we're really not that good at multitasking. Some people are better than others. Multitasking actually increases your stress level. That stress level will actually increase that feeling of being overwhelmed. So if you can, turn off the distractions so you don't get interrupted, your brain's not switching gears back and forth, and you can focus on what's in front of you. Now, turning off or limiting distractions can be as simple as turning off your email notifications on your computer, turning off your text notifications on your phone. Now, if you're in a position or have a responsibility where you can't do that, that's one thing. But if you can make that choice, even if you just turn it off for a period of time, so you're not distracted, especially if you have work that requires a lot of concentration, a lot of thinking. The next one is, when you think about social media, if you're using it for your business, if you're using it for personal time, it can suck you in there. I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but I know that you can get in there and you can get lost. What you go to do for 10 minutes, you end up doing an hour, and that hour you don't get back. So set aside social media time. And then even if you set an alarm for yourself, after that time is up, switch gears. Create like no screen time for yourself. And this includes actually watching movies and things that might be restful for you. Just when your brain a chance to kind of just sort of calm down. That's a great time to take a walk, to stare outside at a tree or the sun, or just a moment to relax and refresh your brain. You want to designate the urgent versus non-urgent things. Again, when the distractions come in, if they're urgent, yeah, you have to respond. If they're non-urgent, then maybe you have to move them to a different time. And sometimes those can come via your coworkers and your family and your friends. Practicing the pause, right? Rather than just saying yes, and then being able to say, I can't do it right now, but maybe tomorrow. It's a huge win for you. And if you're not good at doing that, that's like one of those muscles you really, really want to develop. It'll make a huge difference in the amount of overwhelm you feel and the amount of stress that you experience. And then things that you can just save for later. Can you push it off to later? And even with your screen time now, especially, you can check your usage to see how much you're actually doing, how much time you're spending on those things. This is one way of just tackling overwhelm, tackling that stress level, getting it down so you can get back to the part of enjoying your life and enjoying what you're doing. So now I'm going to sort of switch gears, and I'm going to talk about what you can do in the long term. Remember, the quote says you can't just fix it with these little short-term fixes. These will get you out of it and get you back into doing things. But we really want to go a little bit deeper, not so much in just managing that overwhelm, but trying to eliminate it as much as we can. And that's where the long-term strategies come in. So I've mentioned this several times. One of the first steps is to be really clear on what your values and your priorities are. To get there, there's some questions you can ask yourself. Who do you want to be? Are you this, if you're a working mom, working dad, are you the one that comes home late at night and doesn't have time for the kids? Or are you the one that, takes time off every now and every couple of weeks and spends time with the kids? Or with that person that's special in your life? Are you the person that reads the books and you learn more because you're always inquisitive? Or are you the ones that wish you had time to do that? Who is it that you want to be? What do you want to do? What's important to you? If you say, and the words are that, I really like going to the botanical gardens, I really like meeting my friends for a drink, but it never happens. That might be that might be a time when you're out of alignment for yourself. And then what's most important to you? What are the things that are really, really important to you? And last but not least, if you've taken the time to set your goals and you've written them down, what is it that's going to help you get closer? So that when you do this thing, it helps you get closer and closer to that goal, whether it's a financial goal, whether it's an education goal, where it's a spiritual time goal, if it's an exercise goal or health and wellness goal around what you're eating, all of those things will just help you get closer. So there's a great tool that's used by coaches a lot, and I use it with my clients. When you're really not sure about, where things are, intuitively you feel like you know who you are and your values, but if you were to look at your calendar, it doesn't line up. And this tool is called the Wheel of Life, and it's an exercise you go through, and you see the diagram there, where you kind of list out categories of your life that you want to address, and then you sort of say, well, how well am I doing? So, for example, if you look at the one that's in front of you, if you said health, that's probably like 90% of where you want to be. Finance, maybe 80, and family, maybe 80. And then you choose areas from there that you want to work on. So one of the things I want to give you, and I will drop this into the chat box later as well, is an opportunity just to go out, grab this tool. It'll give you the wheel, it'll give you instructions, and it can help you start to think about what those priorities are for yourself and where you might want to set some goals. For example, here, if spirituality is important to you, and you've said, well, I'm only about 40% of where I want to be. That may be something that you want to actively work on and include it in your life going forward. So as you think about your priorities, as you think about your values and what goes on your calendar, you emphasize that and make sure you move that into the space of what you're doing. When we're in alignment with our values and priorities, our stress level goes down because we're making choices that support who we want to be, who we actually are, and things that are helping us to get closer to our goals. When we're not, we're always thinking to ourselves, well, if I can get past this, I can get to that stuff. If I can get past this, I can get to that stuff. And the truth is, a lot of us will never get to the stuff that's important to us if that's the tactic that we're taking. Okay, so who do you want to be? And what do you need to do to get there? The second long-term tactic I want to talk to you about is just increasing your consciousness. And when I say that, I'm talking about things as simple as, taking time to reflect on a regular basis. What's working in my life for me? What's giving me joy? What things are not working for me? You apply this to your work. You think about if you're a business owner, when you're looking at your marketing, what's working, what's not working. When you take the time to reflect, it gives you an opportunity to tweak it, to improve it, and to work on it because you're conscious of the fact that it is or isn't working. So you can choose the things that are working to do more of and the things that are not working to do less of. But when you're running flat out, like most of us are, especially before COVID, sometimes you miss that. And you're doing the same old stuff. And as Einstein said, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting something different, expecting different results. But just by taking the time to reflect on a regular basis, what's working, what's not working, what do I need to do differently to be more successful? Powerful, so powerful. Brings down that stress level, brings down that sense of being overwhelmed because you're doing the things that are important to you. The second one, in terms of increasing your consciousness, is to really check alignment with your values and priorities. You're hearing this all the way through this presentation, so hopefully it's ringing a bell. A really sneaky way to do that is to pull your calendar up from the last 3 or 4 months and say, based on what I said is important to me, my values, my priorities, how much time have I spent on it? And if you do that calendar audit and you see it's not where you want it to be, then what do you need to do differently to make it happen? Most people, the first time they do that, if they've never done it, and I do this with a lot of my clients as a coach, they're just really shocked. They're really shocked at what they're not doing that's important to them and the time they're spending on stuff that's not important to them. The other one is, as you are working on things, as you're taking on projects, as you're even taking on commitments, track how much time you spend there and then make sure it's in alignment with what's important to you. The last one I'll give you, and this is one that's actually very powerful. We talked about the pause, but just practicing mindfulness. It's the be here now moment, to actually take what you're doing right now and to appreciate where you are and to enjoy it and to make the most of it. It changes things when you just take that pause and spend that time. Okay, so the next one, the next long-term strategy, and the reason I say long-term, because these are new habits and habits don't happen overnight, guys. You have to work at them. And that is to build your planning muscles. Now think about that. Any muscles that you want to develop, that means you have to work them on a regular basis. You have to exercise them on a regular basis. They don't just happen. One of those, if you're not a planner, is to write down your annual goals. And again, this is one where you can trip yourself up and become overwhelmed because you write down 20 goals. What I recommend to my clients is that you write down 3 to 5 that are important to you, not just stuff that you think you should do, but things that you want to do and that have meaning for you. And those 3 to 5, actually 3 is a lot better than 5. You work on them. And if you get them all done, you can add more. Nobody will stop you. But if you can just focus yourself in on those 3 to 5, you're a lot more likely to get them done. The second part is to take those same annual goals and break them down into what I need to do each quarter. Now, the psychology behind that is that if you break it down into quarters, there's a sense of urgency. I mean, how many people have set that goal in January to lose 20 pounds? And because it's January and you only want to lose it by December, you got plenty of time. And about December is when you realize, out of time, didn't meet my goal. Okay, kick me for not doing what I said I would do. Or maybe I just won't do goals at all anymore. The point is, if you break it down into quarterly goals, where instead of being 20 pounds, then maybe you're talking about, 5. I think I can get the 5 done in a month, in a quarter. Yeah. Just that simple. Identify what you need to do each month to be on track with those quarterly goals. So we went from the annual to the quarterly. Break the monthly task into weekly chunks. We're back to chunks. Maybe it's something that will take you 12 weeks, but each of those 12 weeks you're doing something. Or if not every 12 weeks, maybe every 2 weeks you're doing something on it. And then you want to use that information to plan your week and to plan your day. So what that might look like is at the beginning of every week or at the end of every week, you say, what are my 3 things I need to get done? Notice the 3 is really big with me, guys, because that's doable. What do I need to get done next week? Okay, when am I going to do the things that help me get that done? And then put it on the calendar so you can see it. Block time to work on it. And then at every day during that week, check in on them. What am I supposed to do today? Now, the goal is not to fill your calendar up because we know other things will happen. But on those things that are priorities for you, that are critical for you, block time on your calendar to work on. So if you're in a business and you need to make calls, say you're making sales calls or any kind of calls, maybe you have an hour each day to make your calls. At the end of the week, if you've done that, you got 5 hours of calls. That's pretty significant, as opposed to saying, I'm gonna make up all my calls in one day, which you could do, except the phone call will come, the customer will be unhappy, your child will be sick, something else will keep you from doing it. But those little nibbles, that hour a day, can be extremely powerful. The reason you want to plan that day is so if you get off on it one day and you miss, you can correct it the next day and make up for it. So it's a lot easier to make 10 calls in one day than it is to make 25. Something that will help you with your planning immensely is to create your own beginning of the day ritual and your end of the day ritual. So a beginning of the day ritual might look like this. You get up, you look at your list. What are my priorities for the day? When am I working on them? And then look at that to-do list, because these are not necessarily the same. To-do list may be making a call back, sending an email, but the priorities are the things that are the big chunks that are moving you closer to your goal. Okay, how are we looking? Do I need to make any adjustments? Halfway through the day, you want to check in, see how you're doing. At the end of the day, take a few minutes and ask yourself 3 questions. What went well? What didn't go so well? What do I need to do differently tomorrow to be more successful? That's that reflection part. If you want to add 5 more minutes or maybe 10 more, tidy up your work area before you shut it down for the day. So when you come in the morning, you're ready to go and you can look at your beginning of your day ritual. These are habits that you have to build. And remember, you have to do them on a regular basis to develop that muscle. What does it do for you in terms of overwhelm and stress? The things that are important are getting done. You're not up here in your head thinking about how am I going to get this done? When am I going to start on it? You have a plan that will drop some of the stress off. You're building a plan that doesn't fill up your whole day and doesn't say I have 8 hours a day to work, because that's not realistic for most of us. But just takes bites of your day that you can focus on the important stuff. And then other time you can fill in with whatever else that comes up during your day. These are long-term muscles that will help you prevent overwhelm and bring down that stress level. The 4th long-term tip I want to share with you is just a big one. It comes back with everything else we've talked about. It's own your calendar. So there is a quote that I look at a lot and I think about a lot because I think it's really important. The author says something like this: unlike money, time is not a renewable resource. So when it's gone, it's gone. When you think about things that you need to get done, to get your goal, to reach your goals, to build the life that you want, to build a business that you want, once you've lost that time, it's gone. Now, not to be cavalier about money, but most of the time, there's probably money you can remake, but you can't make any more time. So you want to treat that time like it's valuable. And that's part of what you want to do. The first thing you want to look at in terms of working is to capitalize on your best working time. If you know you're extremely productive first thing in the morning, like say between 8 and 10 or whatever that looks like for you, or if you're extremely productive from 10 to midnight at night, that's the time when you want to do your heavy duty lifting in your brain, things that you have to think about, things that you want to be creative with. And you want to protect that time so you're not filling it up with meetings or phone calls or things that maybe don't help you move forward. As much as you can during that time, you want to fill it with the things that are going to help you reach your goals. You want to put your priorities and goals on your calendar first. So when you look at that calendar, if it's blank and you have things that are important to you and goals that you're working towards and they're not on there, fix it. Put yours on the calendar first. So when somebody asks you to do something or you consider adding something to your plate, you know what you're already committed to, you know what's already important is on the calendar. You made space for it. You think that might help you reduce the sense of being overwhelmed and your stress level? It will. Use those time blocks. So block time on your calendar, do things that you do on a regular basis. If you know you need to be making marketing calls every week, block time on your calendar for you. If you know you need to do a report every week, block time on your calendar for you. And what gets really cool is if you block the same time every week, if you can do that, that becomes part of a habit for you. And that makes it even easier because a habit is the stuff we do automatically. We don't have to force ourselves to do it as much once it becomes a habit. Here's the big one. You can do all the planning, all the work in the world, but if you don't respect what you have on the calendar and use it, it means nothing. In fact, it's worse than nothing because you wasted the time doing it. Now, having said that, if you're just getting started, there's going to be times when you ignore the calendar, but just keep coming back to it. Think of it as your roadmap for getting through overwhelm, getting through stress, and knowing that if you can just get back on the road, on the path to where you were going, you'll be so much better at the end. This next one is critical. Find ways to recharge and put them on your calendar as well. So the whole ideal of working through lunch, skipping all your breaks, not even standing up to walk around so you can get more done. Try to ease in some things that help you recharge. Just be careful with them. You know, if you can take a 15-minute walk and it brings you back and you're good, great. If you can't go out to lunch, if you can bring your lunch and find a place and eat something that's healthy for you, that's going to nurture you and not put you to sleep like a bunch of carbs, as much as I love them, then do that as well. And then track your time. Look at where you're spending your time and does it align with your priorities and your goals? Think about doing that calendar audit on a regular basis, like maybe once a month or once a quarter. This is what's important to me. These are my priorities. How much time did I spend on them? How much time did I spend elsewhere? What do I want to do about that? Do I want to make a change? So we've covered some tips to help you get past overwhelm, get you in motion so you can get things done. And then we talked about some long-term strategies that might involve a little more muscle building because we're talking about changing habits. The next thing I just want to share with you is some practices that you might want to consider to help you prevent overwhelm in the future. The first one is keep your priorities and goals at the forefront. In other words, put them someplace so you can see them, even better, read through them on a regular basis, maybe once a week, once a day. You know, what is important to me? What are my goals? And then when you look at what you need to do, make sure they're in alignment. Keep your eye out for procrastination. Remember we talked about how stress and overwhelm are so related? Procrastination just slides right on in there. You get stressed out. You don't get started. So now you got more stuff to do. Slides on over to overwhelm because you didn't get that stuff done because you were stressed. Now you're overwhelmed. Now you're like paralyzed. You don't do anything. Right back over. It's a vicious cycle. So watch out for that. And I think we actually, the library actually has a presentation I did maybe a year or two ago about how to overcome procrastination with just some tips to help you get past that. Where you can simplify and minimize. Simplify processes in your life. Minimize the amount of distractions that you have. Minimize the amount of things that you have to do that are repetitive if you can. You know, put systems in place that will help you. Prioritize your self-care. Life is so much easier when you get sleep at night. Sounds really simple, but it's so true. When you're tired, when you're exhausted, it's hard to think, it's hard to process, and you're less likely to take care of yourself. That feeds right back into that overwhelm and the stress level because you're not relaxing, you're not giving your body that time to recharge. Assemble a team and a support system. You know, have someone you can blow things out with when you need to, even if it's just brainstorming. And have someone who will maybe go on that walk with you if you need it, just to get you out and get some air in your head so you can actually think again. And recognize that changing this in the long haul is going to require building some habits and that building those habits is like building muscles. It's going to take time. It's going to take persistence, but the benefits on the other side of that fence are so sweet. So with that, I'm just going to share a couple resources with you. There's 2 books I know of at the library that will be helpful, but there's a lot of books at the library. Overwhelmed, How to Quiet the Chaos and Restore Your Sanity by Kathy Lipp and Sherry Gregory. And then Overcoming Overwhelm by Dr. Samantha Brody, where she actually helps you do a little roadmap for yourself. There's also some tools that Christian's going to talk to you about that are available to help you with the meditation and the mindfulness, to help you with just about anything else you might need as well, because the library has lots of great stuff. Thank you all so much for listening to me. With that, I am going to stop the slides, and then if we have any questions, we'll take a look at those.
Thank you so much, Debra. Does anybody have questions for Debra? And then we will, I'll give you just a little bit of an overview of what the library has available for you. Any questions? Let's see.
Kristen, I did forget one thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So on the last slide, you guys didn't see there's a 1-pager you can download, and it just has some tips on there for getting past overwhelm. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the chat box right now. Okay. And I'll put that wheel of life in there as well. So I'm done. Sorry.
Okay, there is a question that what were the 3 end of day questions? What went well, what didn't go so well, and what else?
What do I need to do differently tomorrow to be more successful?
Great.
That's the 3rd one.
We also have a raised hand. Let me see. Are you able to type your question into the chat? Okay. Well, I'll give you a minute to find that. I'm going to give you all a little bit of just an overview of what's available at the library. This will just take a couple of minutes, but the Plano Public Library is more than books, and we offer a lot of resources to help support all these concepts that Debra has so beautifully described to you, ways to stop the overwhelm and prevent it. Thank you so much, Debra, for a wonderful presentation. We can still take questions, but just briefly, the library also offers you skill building resources and things on meditation and mindfulness as well through LinkedIn Learning. It's free with your Plano library card. If you are not a resident of Plano, you can also get a free Plano library card if you live in Allen, Frisco, Garland, McKinney, Richardson, The Colony, or Wiley. You can sign up online and then come into the library to pick up your physical library card. LinkedIn Learning has thousands of video courses and sessions that are really wonderful on a variety of topics related to business, technology, and digital creativity. And mindfulness and meditation are both included in those courses. We also have many courses on mindfulness and meditation through Canopy, which is a video streaming service offered with your library card as well. At no cost, you can watch 5 videos a month at no cost with your card. You do have to create an account using your library card number. Canopy is accessible through the Plano Library website under eBooks and more. This is a great resource. They consider themselves thoughtful entertainment. There are documentaries, independent films, and lots of resources for business skills and career research. Some of the things I've listed, some of the topics here for you, but mindfulness and meditation are both part of that as well. And Debra did mention her past presentations, as well as some other presenters and our staff are on our YouTube channel. We do career development programs on a regular basis through Zoom and also in the library. And our Zoom programs are most of them are recorded and they are posted on our YouTube channel. So we'd love to have you visit our YouTube and watch some of those recordings. Debra does have a couple of programs on going from Surviving to Thriving and Time Management are on the recordings are there as well. You can access library resources and information through the Plano Library Learns blog. That includes information on tools for resume design. Tutor.com is a database that we offer access to, where you can send in your resume and get a response about changes that they might suggest that you make. We also have reference solutions for job search and for business research. Career exploration videos on Canopy. There's a whole series called How Can I, or how, I'm sorry, I've forgotten the exact term, but it's how you become a specific different career. And then, as I said, there are also things about business skills and leadership skills through Canopy. Learning Express Library is another place where you can get assistance with career research, career exploration. What would it take to be in a certain career if you're interested in changing your role? And then we offer a wonderful service at Plano Public Library, and that is a Book a Librarian service. You can find this on our website, and you can actually make an appointment with a librarian for assistance, a 30-minute appointment for assistance with a particular thing that you're trying to research, find, learn how to use. Like if you would like to use Canopy or LinkedIn Learning, but you're not sure how to get started, our staff can help you get started with that resource. And or if you're trying to design your resume and you're running into some trouble and you need help on Word with a template or with a plan for your resume, how that will look and appear, that they can help you with that as well. So we welcome you to send in a request for Book a Librarian. We also keep you in the know with access to the New York Times, the Dallas Morning News, and worldwide newspapers and magazines through Press Reader. This is all free with a library card. We also offer access to many, many, many e-books and magazines in the business realm with hobbies, all kinds of things. And as I said, around the world, different magazines in different languages from different countries, and leadership books, as well as magazines and information.
Kristen?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. We had a request to repeat the information on resumes and job searches.
Okay. As far as what we provide, I guess. Let me see if I can go back. So we have a class coming up that I'm going to get to classes that are coming up soon, but next Friday, we actually have HR professionals from Capital One that are going to lead a workshop on resume and resume building and interview skills. And that's going to be on Zoom at 2:00 next Friday, 2 to 3 o'clock on Zoom. And you can register for that on our website. If you go to the interactive library calendar and you go to the date of the 18th, and you can register for that there. We also have recordings on our YouTube channel of programs that our staff have done in the past on resume building. You can gather information through tutor.com. You can send in your resume to tutor.com, and they can give you suggestions on your resume. And if you are looking for, our library staff don't give direction in like which things to include on your resume, but can help you find resources at the library. We have a lot of books and resources and materials to help you with, like there's one of the books I know has action words that are always helpful in writing your past experiences onto your resume. So they can help direct you toward resources, our books and other materials in the library that you can use, also through our LinkedIn Learning and Canopy and other resources that help you with career exploration and resume building resources. I hope that covers most of what. I'm also going to give you my email address at the end, and you're welcome to also write into the library or call the library and our staff, or just come to one of our 5 locations, 4 that are open right now. Davis is currently under construction and will be reopening soon. But we'd love to have you come by and speak with our staff. If you make an appointment with the Book a Librarian, then you will have a 30-minute session that is all for you. And you'll also be paired with a staff person who's prepared to give you the resources that you are interested in. So I would highly recommend making that appointment with a Book a Librarian. On the lighter side of things, for family, friends, other pursuits, I just wanted to let you know that there are many opportunities at Plano Public Library for art and creativity. We have 3D design classes and 3D printers at 3 of our libraries. We have kits you can check out, bullet journaling and other sorts of classes, a lot to offer you in terms of just pursuing learning and innovation, learning new things. We also offer language learning with a pronunciator app that allows you to learn 80 different languages or more, and you can set the language you're learning from. So you can start in Spanish and learn French or whatever your need may be. And then we have a lot of family activities and programs around STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, reading, writing, and all kinds of exploration. We'd love to see you at the library regularly. Upcoming classes. There are a lot of things on our schedule, so I would highly recommend that you look at the planolibrary.org website and that you look at either the interactive calendar or the schedule of programs that are coming up. Some of the things that we have coming up next week is a Business Plan 101 class if you're interested in or already building a small business. That would be a great workshop for you. It's going to be offered by Dallas SCORE, which is a partner with the Small Business Administration of the United States. The resume and interview workshop that I mentioned, that Capital One Human Resources folks are giving, that is on February the 18th at 2 o'clock. You can sign up through the website. Reference Solutions, it's a tool that you can use for research for your job or for job search or for small business research and information. And so that tool will be showing you how to use that on February 21st. I would love to have you register for that. Navigate Job and Career Options is about career exploration. How do you know what kind of thing that you might like to do as a job, and what are similar things that would use your skills? And it also goes over the kind of education and training that's needed for those roles. Marriage and money. Financial resources are a valuable thing to find, and this is presented by Bank of America. How finances are a major cause of strife in a marriage and in a relationship. And so this is a great opportunity to think about and discuss money issues with loved ones that can help you to ease those conflicts. Also upcoming, Create Your Elevator Speech, which is a wonderful tool for presenting your case or your what you have to offer in a very short and impactful way with decision makers or in a chance encounter with someone who may be hiring or have something to offer for your business. So we'd love for you to join us on March 4th. That's going to be virtual. We have a few programs for teens as well. If you have teens in your family, we want to help them with their business and presentation skills. Debra's presenting the What Story Are You Telling for teens that helps them think about making a good first impression and kind of the personal image that they are giving off when they interact with individuals regarding jobs or internships or these sorts of things. A lot of technology classes that we offer as well. Those are also on our website. You'll find a lot of different opportunities to learn about digital design software. And we have an Excel series coming up in March where every week we'll have a class that goes into different aspects of Excel. So a lot of things to offer. These are some of the things that are recorded and are on our YouTube channel. And if you have questions and would like to contact us, we would be happy to respond back with answers to your questions. You can find us at planolibrary.org. PlanoLibraryLearns.org is our blog. And we have a podcast called Plano Library Speaks. It comes out on the first of every month. It's about 25 minutes long and goes through 4 different segments. So there's just interesting information about library resources, programs coming up, and we have a segment called Learning and Leading, where you can learn about business and career resources and ways that you can lead in your home or community. That is all I have. And do we have other questions?
We did have one that I believe is for Debra. It says, it's hard to help teenagers reduce screen time, especially when their homework is also online. When I ask kids not to use the screen, there's a fight. So how can I help my 14-year-old on screen time?
Great
So,
question.
as a mom, that's more of a that's more of a coaching issue. I will tell you, when my sons were home, we negotiated times, and we actually took their phones. So we were like really mean parents. Now they're 31 and 29. They say thank you, but that was a long time in coming. So homework time, they had to have the homework done before they got the phones back. But I mean, that's something that you've got to figure out what works with your child. But that's the best I can tell you. I'm sorry. And maybe a child psychologist can help you better, but we negotiated. So we took it away.
It is really difficult because sometimes they actually have apps and things on their phone that they use for school. It's terrible. It's really hard to do. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, Debra, for your wonderful time and expertise on this topic. We really appreciate your being with us and supporting the library in this way.
My pleasure always. Thank you guys so much for having me.
I don't see any other questions. All right. Anyone else have questions before we sign off? All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. We're glad that y'all could be with us today, and we hope to see you soon at Plano Public Library. You should be getting a survey when you close the browser here with the Zoom, and we hope that you'll complete that survey. It helps us to know the kinds of programs that you might be interested in attending in the future and how we've met your needs or what we could improve upon. So thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.